Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's a wet day outside. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It was only supposed to be some early morning showers and then the rest of the day was supposed to be fine. But Mother Nature decided to have other plans. It's a good thing I have this greenhouse so I can do some filming inside of it. One of the things I did do before starting to film this portion was I ran with my phone in the drizzle and I tried to shoot some of the various things that's happening here around the garden. My poppies up on the deck are looking wonderful, and again, hopefully in about a month's time, especially once things start really warming up and the frost, the danger of freeze passes, I think the poppies will really explode and they'll look awesome. If we go out to the fig tree, you guys, if you, again, follow my videos, thank you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. But in the fall, early winter, I planted out a bunch of muscari, grape hyacinth. And many of them are coming up, which is great. And I also sprinkled around the fig tree a lot of poppy. Try something to introduce a little bit more color into the whole garden. So I did the whole poppies around there. I did the muscari around the fig tree. And again, hopefully once everything starts really warming up, that again really comes to life and the poppies will grow larger than the weeds and the grass that are there, hopefully. And there'll just be a nice explosion of color until the fig again blooms out more. Let's see, what else? The grass is growing. We've had a lot of warm temperatures. I think the hottest day last week was, or this past week, past Monday or something like that, was like 80 degrees. The greenhouse was getting really warm, and so the grass is growing, which is good and bad. It's good because everything's starting to get green again. It's also bad because I have to go mow it. Also, because the grass is growing, my biggest weed here on my property is grass, and it's growing in all of my flower beds. So it's something I just have to deal with. I'm going to have to get into the beds. I still have fall cleanup to do, which I've never finished. So there's still some to do. Thankfully, it's only I think it's only in the main flower beds. So there's not a lot to do, but I still have to get out there and do it, along with the other 8 million things I need to do around the garden. But the grass will be dealt with. I will be pulling it. Unfortunately, the grass that's in my beds, and maybe some of you who are more expert than I am will know what this is, but it is a grass that grows from a bulb. So when you go to pull the grass, you're not pulling out the grass and the roots, the leaves and the roots, as it were. You just break off a piece of the grass, and then the bulb is still in the ground. And then that will, of course, produce new leaves, which again will provide it more energy, and the bulb will get bigger and produce more leaves, and yada, 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 yada. So it's just a matter of me at this point, unless I can think of something better, or maybe one of you can, of just constantly pulling, because theoretically, if you yank the leaves enough off of the grass bulb, that bulb will then not have enough energy to reproduce new leaves and thus die. You're going to say, oh, just mulch on top of it. I have 4 inches and plus more in some areas of mulch. This, because it's growing from a bulb, it has so much energy, literally in my raised beds, in some of my on-ground raised beds, my lower ones, 12 inches of soil comes right up through it. Amazing. Enough of that. What else do I have going on? Of course, again, if you've seen some of my recent videos, I did my whole front walkway and I'm expanding that bed. I don't plan on planting out in that bed until, where are we? April, May, probably May or June. Probably May or June. And again, and that's just to give the cardboard time to start really softening and rotting down underneath. This way, once the plants that I do plant in there, which will probably be a lot of seedlings, start growing, and they'll push their roots through that soft cardboard into the native soil beneath it, and life will be wonderful. Oh, let's see, garlic. My garlic is doing fantastic. I'm really, really impressed with where it is at this point this year. The 2 beds full of garlic, they are doing wonderful. There's another bed which is, it's growing, but it's just not as vigorous as the 2 beds. So I added a little chicken manure onto that bed, very little bit, but again, just to help fertilize the soil, because it was a bed that had not been replenished before we started putting the garlic in there, and that's probably why the garlic isn't doing as great. So again, a little chicken manure, hopefully things will pick up. I'm sure we'll still get some wonderful garlic out of that bed. I also recently planted, actually it was, I believe, yesterday, some radish. I planted radish seed. I had the little tub in here in the greenhouse that I had over the winter, which was great. That's now gone. And eventually the salad, which is the lettuce, the romaine lettuce, which is here right off camera. Ta-da! That will also go away, and making room on the bench for more seedlings and whatnot. So the radish I planted yesterday, which is March 1st. They should be all to be done by April 1st. Radish usually has about a 30-day grow time. Some of it a little sooner, some of it a little later, but about a 30-day grow time. April 1st is supposed to be our last freeze. Hopefully, once the radish is done, I'll then turn around and plant half runner beans in there. Back in the fall, one of my neighbors turned around, saw my garden, we were talking, and she had a sister who I believe lived in West Virginia or lives in West Virginia. Either way, she grew half runner beans. I never heard of such a thing. Apparently, they're more of a bush type bean, like Blue Lake 47, which I love. So she asked her sister to send me some seeds. I got the seeds, and I'll be planting them out once the radishes are done in that bed, which is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that. I wonder how they're going to taste. I wonder if I'll like them. She says I'll love them, but we'll see. I'm sure I will. Yesterday I also planted peas. So there's peas put into the ground already. And again, hopefully with the warmer temperatures, they start sprouting. Now, we are supposed to get some freezes in the upcoming 10-day forecast, but they're going to be sort of the nightly, early morning freezes that we typically get around here. So it'll be, 50 degrees when the sun goes down, and then probably about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, it hits that freezing mark, and by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we're above freezing, and then it gets up to 60 degrees or 70 degrees for the day, and then again, it just does that dip and plummet for the next, probably until April 1st-ish or so. Who knows? We may have an earlier spring than that. Either way, I have the peas are, from my understanding, fairly frost hardy. So they should, again, take any light freezes that we do get. And again, hopefully I get a nice harvest before the really hot summer heat comes in, which will probably be May, when the temperatures start really getting a little too hot probably for peas. I do have in my seedling bed, I do have a penstemon coming up already, and hopefully that will tolerate any and all little freezes that we do get. I planted 2 rows of penstemons. I don't know what's going to come up, if anything at all. If I don't see anything coming up, probably again by April, I'll turn around, replant seeds because I have extra seeds of those. And again, hopefully I can get those to germinate and grow on, and then either plant them later in the summer or early in the fall. So I've started seeds already, started them a few weeks ago. So again, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, maybe you've seen some of my shorts. I've had mixed results with some of my seeds. Now, I have a seed starting station in the garage, and the reason I decided to do that and the greenhouse was simply because in the garage, theoretically, I could keep it more controlled with controlled light, and also with the heat mats. So again, it's a more controlled environment. So theoretically, everything should work out well. Except Mother Nature again. There's a mouse or mice that's been running ramshackle over half of my seeds. And I've lost probably a couple of trays of columbine, and I think a tray of salvia I recently just disposed of. And what happens is the mice go, they dig for the seeds. I think some of the seeds may be too fine for them to find, but they still smell them, and they go digging up the plant, the whole tray, and just toss it, start over. It happens. I do have some successes in the greenhouse. I do have Rudbeckia and something else, but I do have, Baptistia. So I know I have at least Baptistia and Rudbeckia growing in the greenhouse, so that's pretty exciting. All is well there. Out here in the greenhouse. My citrus trees I mentioned recently were flowering. They're still flowering. I'm pretty excited about that. The orange trees really seem to be putting on some growth, which is nice. The lemon trees, slightly mixed results. One is flowering, the other one is not flowering. Both are surviving. They're doing well. They're not dropping leaves. And I have to repot all of these, which I probably will do in the next week or two. And then I'll fertilize. I probably will hold off fertilizing until we're closer to April, because I don't want them to putting on too much growth. And again, if we have some sort of horrible Arctic blast or something, even in the greenhouse, I'd be nervous about them being damaged or, suffering in some way. if you think I'm wrong, if you think I should fertilize them sooner when I repot them or something, please let me know in the comments below. But again, I think I'm going to err on the side of caution. Let's see what else. Trays. I have trays full of all sorts of seeds, and I'm just going to go over them real quick. Foxgloves. They are exploding on me right now. I do have 2 trays of foxgloves. Foxglove Sunset and another one, which aren't doing so hot, unfortunately. I have lupines, which are doing fabulous. So hopefully, again, in the springtime, figure at the rate they're growing, probably May, I'll be planting them out into the flower garden, cross my fingers and toes, or in front of the new extended bed that's in front of the house. I have a tray of Alaska Shasta Daisy. Hasn't done anything yet, but again, some of these seeds you have to start way before your last frost because they take time to germinate, they take time to grow. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And I have, of course, my onions. My onions are doing very well. Now, that's only my first tray of onions. I have other onions I want to start from seed, and my wife is trying to talk me into stopping by a local store to maybe get red onion sets. I have, what else is growing here? I have salvias. Salvias are growing. They're doing quite well. And hopefully I will be potting up or up potting a lot of this in the next maybe 3 to 4 weeks. Some of the stuff may be sooner. I have to keep my eye on the seedlings and see how they grow. Today's rainy, but tomorrow's supposed to be bright, sunshiny, 70 degrees. Again, the inside of the greenhouse, if it's 70 degrees inside, we'll probably get to about, I don't know, 90 to 100. And that's with all the windows and vents and the doors open. So, you know, that heat helps accelerate the growth, which is good. So again, I just have to keep my eye on the plant, on the seedlings, see how they go, and then up pot them when they're ready. Look how big those seedlings are already, and they haven't put on their first true leaves yet. Actually, one of them looks like it's about to. So I may be up potting these sooner than later, which is fine. And up potting, if you're new to gardening, just means taking the small plant out of its plug here and then putting it into a larger pot so its roots can grow on and it can grow on and life is good. Many of you, I think, who watch this channel are old hats, so you know all this stuff. Back here in the back, my pepper plants, I have 4 in a pot. I started growing them on from seedlings last fall, and I overwintered them here in the greenhouse. Pepper plant has put on some nice growth, which is really great. I do plan on growing a lot more peppers this year. In fact, this upcoming weekend, I may start planting some seeds for that. We'll have to see how that happens. I have a lot more seeds and a lot more planting to do in the upcoming weeks before springtime. And then, of course, once the danger of the last frost has passed, then I will turn around and start planting a lot more stuff in ground and out in the garden. But for now, the pepper plant's doing great. And I think I will do experimentations because, again, I've never grown peppers before. And I'm in growing zone 8A, and we have a long growing season, and my understanding is peppers take a while to grow on, and they enjoy the heat. So I think I will do some in pots and leave them outside. I may grow some in pots and leave them in the greenhouse over the summertime, and the greenhouse during the summertime gets very warm, 120 degrees sometimes, which is not unusual even with the shade cloth. So again, I will experiment, see what happens. And then I may even try to grow some in ground or in the raised beds, again, just to experiment, see what does what, where. Again, growing on my green finger, I'm figuring some of this stuff out. And I can go read a book or can you watch a YouTube channel, but many times, often I feel that I get mixed answers in some of these things, and it's best just to experiment. Give it a try. See what works for me, because something that works for me may not work for somebody on YouTube or somebody else's channel on YouTube. What the way they do it may not work for me, so on and so forth. And again, if you're a new gardener, experiment, try, see what works for you, because something that I do here in Growing Zone 8A in Eastern North Carolina may not work for you wherever you are. So you have to try again, try different things and, watch your YouTube channels and read your books and figure out what works for you in your circumstances. So anyways, I'm prattling on again. I have one other thing here, which is really cool. During the wintertime, I took cuttings, I don't know if you can see that, of red twig dogwood that I have. And they didn't look like much, but I turned around, stuck them in a jar of water here, and yeah, they're putting on leaves. And again, let's see if we can get that. So they got little leaves, we got big leaves, which is really exciting. The only thing that I'm slightly concerned about is I do not see much of anything in the way of roots. Now, I've never taken cuttings of red twig dogwoods before. Don't know. So if you have any thoughts or any ideas as to the whole taking cuttings and growing on, please let me know in the comments below. I think I will wait another week or two and then maybe try potting them up into a nice fluffy potting mix and see what happens. If they continue to grow on, if they put on growth throughout the year, then maybe in the fall I can turn around and plant these as shrubs somewhere else in the garden, or again, just keep them in pots and move them into the, well, red twig is deciduous, so I can leave it outside theoretically during the winter time, or maybe just bring it into the greenhouse to let it try to grow on during the winter months and then plant out the following year. Again, I've never done this before. Just something that I'm trying, and I'm so far pretty excited by what's happening here. Again, you see something on YouTube or television, or you read it in a book, and it all sounds great and it sounds interesting, but until you actually do it, you know, at least for me, it's and I think that's the way most people learn, or they try something. You know, again, you could learn something in a book, but until you actually put it into practice, it's a whole nother thing. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Unfortunately, nothing really exciting going on. I have a new raised bed built. I have to fill it up with soil. I have another one that's already ready to go that needs soil that I have to go get, and I have yet one more to build, and spring is around the corner. Yeah, I got a lot to do still. Like I said, that's going to wrap it up for today. Please check out all the links below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post up a new video. And I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.